Good afternoon, Atlanta, or shall I say America. We are live right here for the Scarves and Spikes podcast covering Copa America 2024, Panama versus USA, 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 USA. My name is Tony Leone, and alongside me is the man of the pod himself, Tyler Pilgrim. Take it away.
Appreciate you guys coming out. If you don't know, I say this at every one of our live shows, you have inadvertently ended up in the middle of a live podcast. So welcome. Again, like Tony said, we're the Scarves and Spikes podcast. We cover mostly Atlanta United, but we cover the U.S. Men's National Team, U.S. Women's National Team, U.S. Soccer as a whole, MLS. So first of all, we are very appreciative that you're here. Very appreciative to the Nest on 4 bar here at the Signia Hotel for hosting us for this event. And we're going to talk some football and some soccer for the next hour before you guys go over there and raise hell.
It's the pre-match, the pre-game before the match.
This is the pre-game. So to dive right into it, we have a very special guest here today, straight from U.S. Soccer, Chief Communications Officer himself, Mr. Neil Beathy. Y'all give him a round of applause.
Sure, right in the middle. Love it. Thank you. And you got my name right, which is fantastic.
I do my best. I had to make sure I got it right. Trying to be professional up here. So just to dive straight into it, obviously big day here in Atlanta, big day for the men's national team in general. But just kind of give us your initial thoughts. Being here in Atlanta, first time that the U.S. has been here, at least the men have been here in almost a decade. So
listen, Atlanta is one of the best places for soccer, as I think we all know. A lot of debate on best soccer city in America, but Atlanta's in the argument. There's no doubt about it.
We got to claim it.
Love that. Love that.
So we're always excited to come to Atlanta. Obviously, it's our future home that I know we'll talk about in a little bit. So the vibe here in the city, what Atlanta United has done since they've come into the league has been unbelievable. I don't think anyone expected that response. And so it's fantastic to see. And, you know, there's just more and more big soccer events coming to Atlanta, and I think that'll continue.
You mean like the World Cup?
The World Cup.
Coming in a couple years?
Little event, you know, only the largest event that will ever be put on. Yeah.
And I couldn't ask for a better stadium to host said cup. Is that half the reason why U.S. Soccer chose Atlanta, or just the greater state of Georgia, was this backyard right here?
Well, the stadium's fantastic. There's no doubt about it. We obviously are very close to Arthur Blank now, and the connection we have with AMBSC has been unbelievable. So Atlanta as a whole, community has really come out and supported U.S. Soccer and the sport that we talked about earlier. But the fact that we're going to be moving here and building our national training center is really, really special. I think that can be a game changer for the federation, for the sport in a lot of ways. So Atlanta is our new home, and we're all excited about it.
We're glad y'all are here. We're glad U.S. Soccer is here in Atlanta. You know, obviously we're biased, but you're not going to find a better home, I promise. So with that being said, just talk a little bit about the National Training Center. I mean, it's obviously state of the art. We know from being Atlanta United fans, with Arthur Blank being a part of it, it's going to have all the bells and whistles. But what does that mean for U.S. Soccer, having so many teams that maybe a lot of people don't give the spotlight to?
Yeah, what's really interesting, I think most of the people think about U.S. Soccer and they think of our senior teams, right? Our senior men and our senior women. Obviously, the most high-profile teams play in the World Cups, play in the Copa America, play in the Olympics. But we have 27 national teams. So we've got 16 youth national teams, and we have 9 extended national teams. So that's 2 beach teams, men and women, 2 deaf teams, men and women. We have a power team, which is co-ed, that's wheelchair soccer. We have futsal. So we've got our cerebral palsy men and women team too. So this training center is for all the teams. So we're actually going to have a court for our wheelchair team. We're going to have beach fields, courts for those teams. So it's not just our senior teams. We're going to be connecting to the community. We'll have fields that they can use. So we really are bringing everyone together. And what's really fascinating about that is that we'll have all our coaches there, right? We'll have all the players there. We'll have all the staff there, and the ability to share knowledge. is something that I think will actually move us up another level. I've even seen our wheelchair, our power soccer players talk to our men's national team about things, and our men's national team players, oh, it's really interesting how they think about that, right? Because their game is a little bit different than 11v11. So it's just having that group all together day in, day out will compound that knowledge that everyone will have. And I really truly believe it'll be, like I said, a game changer for the federation, for our national teams. And listen, our women's team has been so good for so long, and our men's team is pushing to get up there in the top 8, let's say, consistently. And I think this is one of those things that will allow us to move everything forward and break some barriers.
Hearing the enthusiasm and your voice about the potential for these clubs and these teams, it's got me excited. But I'm curious, is this the first time U.S. Soccer has gotten to build a strategy like this from the ground up? Or how did they adapt it prior to now Atlanta really revamps everything?
Yeah. No, we've never had a national training center like this. We were part of what is now the Dignity Health Center in LA, right? We had some fields there. We trained there a lot. But again, we didn't have a place where our staff would be all together, all our teams could use and have fields. In what we do now is we're really just traveling all over the country. So we're shipping things everywhere, and we're moving. So it's this big elaborate process, and no one's all together. So this will be the centralized home. This will be something that will be really allow us to take that next step, I believe.
I was going to say, you also have Hartsfield-Jackson Airport right there, which is like the #1 airport.
The airport was a big factor. We're 20 minutes south of that, which is nice because we're not even going against traffic. You can fly anywhere in the world. So our men's national team players, our women's national team players that are overseas can fly straight here, direct flights anywhere they need to go. So that was also an element. The weather is fantastic. Maybe a little hot. I'll have to get used to that. But the weather year round will be able to use.
I promise you get 4 seasons. I promise you do.
Good, you get them multiple times a year, but you get 4 seasons.
I mean, I lived in Chicago for 20 years, so I won't miss the winters. That's for sure.
There you go. And it's interesting, hearing you say this, because when She Believes Cup happened a couple of months ago, going out to the training and listening to some of the players like Alex Morgan just talking about how she's been around for a while. And I know when that comment was made that day, she had a little something to say about it, but she's a veteran, right? She's been around. And to have a place for everybody to go, she said it's a game changer as a player, because it's not having to go to, California, having to go to Chicago, having to go wherever they happen to be at. You've got a place that you can actually call home now.
For sure. And I'll give you a little insight. Today we had a meeting with our architects, and they were taking us through their latest designs. And a lot of the stuff I had seen was just external, but this was a lot of internal, how they're setting things up and how they're thinking about it. And it's fascinating to hear Cindy Parlacone, our president, talk about how we're thinking through everything there through the lens of the athlete, right? So you're not going to have the, workout facility or the gym over here, and then like they have to walk way over here to put their cleats on to go on the field that's over there. It's like how we put it together so it's very easy for them to get around, and it's not, a lot of ups and downs or putting their cleats on and then walking down steps. So it's very, very thoughtful in this process. And we're not finally there 100%, but we're getting close. And then we'll start actually building. We're moving dirt around already on the area out in Fayetteville, and then we'll hopefully have this thing built and ready to move in by 2026.
Love hearing that, especially just keeping from like the player's perspective, making it easier. But looking at the fan perspective, obviously it's going to be a mixed use development when it comes to the futsal, other courts, grass and turf. But is there going to be a spectator booth or arena that, fans could also come in and watch, whether it's preseason tourneys, anything like that of the matter?
Yeah. So the outline of the complex will have some fields near the what I would call like on the top or north that will have a spectator element to it. So there's opportunities to play a match there and have some fans come out from the local community and watch training or watch a game, whatever else. we also have a couple fields that the community will be able to use, right? And we'll figure out how that all works. But we don't want this to be a closed off, like, hey, this is the national team, you can't come in. It's like, how do we embrace the community?
No
and
fences
make sure
around it.
Yeah, there'll be maybe some fences, especially
maybe
during like senior training before a World Cup. But like, there's really want to be open to welcoming, all soccer and all people to come and experience what we think is going to be, one of the best facilities in the country, in the world.
So speaking about that kind of like, I guess, openness and being part of the community, I think is really what it comes down to. But as of 10 o'clock this morning, y'all had some pretty cool news pop up. Can you just talk to us about this new kind of initiative that's going on?
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard about it yet, but with the World Cup coming here in 2026, we've been really thinking about what's the legacy that we'll leave behind by hosting this World Cup in this country. And I think the best way to put it is in 1994, when we hosted the last Men's World Cup, the legacy was really MLS, right? So we were really concentrated on creating the professional league, right? And now we're really concentrated on the lower level. How do we really drive the sport and make it more accessible for more players out there, right? So we all know there are challenges for players to experience the sport, whether it's cost or fields to use, et cetera. So we're really getting everyone in the landscape together to figure out how do we actually use some of the funding that we'll get for this program to break down those barriers and make the sport more accessible, because we want more kids playing the sport. And that's going to allow us to grow and grow and grow, because there's still so much opportunity for the sport to grow, right, in this country.
Absolutely. And as a coach, but more importantly as a parent, I see it every day, and that is one of the biggest things, because you have kids that go out, they play, they enjoy it, but there's almost always been a step missing for a lot of kids. And to have US Soccer putting these kind of resources into it, I mean, for me, just personally and selfishly, like, I appreciate it, because again, we have 4 kids. So seeing those resources there, it's a big deal. And it just helps that it's in my backyard.
Well, what I'll say then to everyone, including yourself, is it's called Soccer Forward Foundation. We have a website. Go there. You can sign up to be part of this program and help all of us as we try to, really drive the sport forward and get more people into the game.
I love that initiative, not only because I feel like in the greater metro Atlanta area, Fayetteville, you couldn't have asked for a better communal city to then drive in the community with such initiatives. But also, you look at the landscape of this country. I mean, everything from white, black, Latino, Asian. I mean, it goes rampant. We are the nation of many. And to see those talents finding their way into eventually the men's national team, I think that is what is going to set us leaps and bounds amongst the competition. I think we're greater because of our diversity and the numbers that we get from that all those perspectives, all those styles is just going to be an advantage as we look towards 2026, 2030, as it keeps going on. I mean, you see that even with this club. I feel like this is the best men's team that we've assembled. And I'm not trying to shame the Clint Dempsey days, right? But
don't let Clint Dempsey hear you.
These youths, I mean, they are just really hitting the ground running. And I feel like seeing reports like Callum Mitchell, right, from Philadelphia, 14-year-old who's killing it, and he's looking to go overseas.
Yep.
When you see a bunch of names like that and you're seeing that that's homegrown right here in the US of A, I'm looking forward to what this does, not only for Atlanta, but of course, the men's national team.
I mean, I don't know how you guys got into the sport, but I always talk about this. I've been at the Federation for 21 years, right? So I've seen a lot of the growth, but I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So my dream was to play for the Green Bay Packers, obviously. And I knew how to do that, right? I wasn't good enough to do it, but I knew what the path was, right?
Right.
I go play in college, I get drafted, I go play in 40 years ago when I was growing up, when you were 15 years old, there was no path for soccer. There was no league. There was no internet to look up Manchester United or Fulham or learn about any of it. There was really no, heroes to look up to, because, you didn't really see them on TV because there wasn't on TV. Now a 15-year-old in Green Bay, Wisconsin can watch more soccer, than anywhere in the world. He knows all about these clubs across the world. He has MLS to go to games or go to Madison and go to a USL game right in his backyard. It's just a different dynamic. And I go back to the Packer games all the time, and someone always says to me like, "Oh, you work in soccer," and it's like someone's grandpa or dad, and they're like, that'll never make it. And I'm like, well, you're a dinosaur because it's already made it, and it's only going to grow, right? And I bet your grandson has a Chelsea jersey, and he's wearing it around. And so, like, the game has transformed so much already in those 20 years, and I just think about the next 20 years, to your point. It's unbelievable what we can do. So,
absolutely. And, your time is valuable, so I want to get you out of here, get you over to the Benz. Thank you, first and foremost. Thank U.S. Soccer, obviously, for these opportunities. Again, as a parent, as a coach, it's a big deal. And as a lover of the game, it's an even bigger deal. So we appreciate it. And look, I know you're down here in the heat, but you have a stadium over there that has a roof on it. I'm just saying. Sure. So you can enjoy the best that Atlanta has to offer. So
great. And thank you to you guys for doing shows like this. It's great. I know, you got a lot going on, and just to talk about the sport and, get more people pulled in, it's fantastic. So appreciate you guys as well.
Hey, man, from your mouth to ours, I mean, that's what it's about. It's spreading the love of the beautiful game and just wanting to see more of this. I mean, like you said early in your childhood, never thought that this would be something that we would cheer for in our backyard. Honestly, I mean, I would follow the Olympics. I would follow World Cups growing up. But I remember looking at my brother-in-law when Atlanta United got announced, and we said, this is it. We're following this club no matter what, thick or thin. Now, we started off hot, so it was very easy to follow. But when they got announced, because this was a game that, again, multicultural, anybody can play, doesn't matter your height. I always wanted to go to the league, whatever that was as well. But football was a game that never came to me. I had to seek it out. So to see that not only for my nephews, but my coming daughter as well, to be able to play that game, I can't wait for it. And just to see what the future of not only Atlanta, but American soccer looks like.
You nailed it. I agree. Thanks, guys.
What's the final score?
Oh, it's scored 2-0 USA.
Let's go.
You heard it right here.
USA. USA. Neil Beathy, everybody. Round of applause.
He stole my line. I was looking at 2-0 as well.
2-0 solid.
And when the man from
3-1.
US Soccer says it, I was thinking at least a 2-goal differential. So you're spot on. I thought 2-0, possibly a 3-1 situation, but I mean, Neil got it. I think now I have to say 3-1 just to be.
Yeah, you got to be different now.
Got to be different. But welcome back, America, Atlanta. Welcome to the nest right here at the Signia Hotel. That was Neil Beathy from US Soccer. Now we're going to talk a little bit more US Soccer as we're looking at Copa America 2024. Drinking without me. Here's a cheers.
Cheers. Got to move this mint. Go ahead.
So right off the bat, I got to say, I think we are coming in stride. The Bolivia game, we're shaking off some rust. We're getting acclimated.
Yep.
And I think a 2-0 or even a 3-1 looks solid, but I think right now we're just getting that motor warmed up.
Yeah, and they came out, and if you look, the score line in the first match, it doesn't tell the whole story. The U.S. could have easily won that game by 3 or 4 more. I mean, the chances were there. Ricardo Pepi could have made it 6-0 by himself. But, you come in, you get the dream start from Captain America himself. Beautiful golazo. And then Folarin Balogun, who, was trying everything he could and finally gets the second. I mean, it like you said, it felt like the motor was starting. It felt like it was warming up. Bolivia was the best team, I think, that you could have started this tournament against. But, Panama is going to give you a little bit of a fight, I think. But ultimately, the U.S. Sorry, Panamanians, I'm so sorry, but the U.S. is right now on paper the more talented team.
And you need to win this one, though. You need to win this one. You want that security blanket to make it out of the group. And I think, like you said, you couldn't have asked for a better starting match with Bolivia, and then you couldn't have asked for a better secondary than Panama to go up against. Test your strengths a little bit more than what Bolivia did, but it's also getting prepared to get out of the group, kind of get some runway, a leeway, making your way through quarterfinals, round of 16, all that and more. Now, looking at this, I'm looking for more Pulisic.
Yep.
I'm kind of wanting to see a little bit more effort from Weston McKennie. But again, I think we're solid right now. I mean, are you eyeing anybody specifically here?
I got to give a shout out to Jedi. As you know, one of my sons loves Jedi. I love Jedi. Anthony Robinson. I feel, but always looking at Jedi for sure. I agree though. Weston McKennie's a good shout. Weston McKennie, we know what he's got in him. I think he just needs to have a little bit of a stronger day, but also positioning and other factors in the last game maybe didn't work for him. But when Weston McKennie is rolling, this whole team is rolling. So,
I would,
flow, yeah.
I would second that. And then also on the coaching side of things, I'm curious to see. I don't know if starting lineup has already been featured just yet, but there's a question mark on Tyler Adams.
Yep.
And you and I have talked about it, but I love me some Yunus Musa. So if I'm looking at, again, depends on what the coaching does here. Are we subbing out Tyler Adams at the half, or are we going to start with Musa? I would love to see that because I'm a big Musa fan back from his days at Valencia. So I would love to see him get a spotlight, whether or not he's starting or plays significant minutes. I would love to see that kid rise because I've always been watching him.
Yeah, and he's going to add something different, right? I'm a huge Tyler Adams fan, especially after the World Cup. In the World Cup, he was by far the man of the tournament for the U.S., in my opinion. He solidified everything. But since then, he's been injury-ridden. He's had struggles. I mean, he's okay now. It's not like club football where you have to worry about, on a weekly basis, is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay? You've got rest here. He's had rest. He's coming off of injury, but he's removed from that. So now I think what you get out of Tyler Adams and what you get out of a midfield in this game in general is you don't want to change it if it's working. But yes, come halftime, if things maybe aren't going your way, or if he needs to take a break, you've got one of the best subs that you could ask for.
Firecracker.
Absolutely. So we're going to keep talking about the U.S. We're going to dive into plenty more about the roster, plenty more about. I don't know that we're going to get to the starting 11 because that's typically an hour before kickoff. But overall, Copa America. Overall, we were here last week for the opener, Argentina, Canada. I'm not going to dive too much into the comments about the grass, but the opener itself, now that we are a week removed from it and some other games have happened, what are your thoughts overall?
Well, to address the grass, Musa himself said it looks slick. It looks nice. The Argentinians really stomped.
That's right.
Especially, Martinez over there in the goalpost really stomping, complaining about it, making sure it's really set in that turf. But overall, I like this Copa. I like it. I think we're getting surprised by a Mexico side that just hasn't shown up to the level of that they've been talking about that they will. Or Brazil, somebody said it. Or Brazil.
Yep. Sorry,
Brazilian. I guess Ronaldinho, we talked about that last week. I guess Ronaldinho really, was a soothsayer with that.
He knows ball.
If somebody would, he will. But also, not just saying it being biased and that they're here, I'm just impressed by the start, and I'm wanting to see momentum continued with America. I really would love to see the United States being that dark horse, if you will, to really do a run. We've been clamoring for how many years where we get just goated like, oh, is this going to be the time? Is this going to be the run?
Is this it?
So I'm hoping that this could. We'll see tonight what this looks like, but if we dominate, I think we could be a nice little dark horse going into the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And to piggyback on what you said, Brazil, I don't know what's going on with them. It is just a bad time to be a Brazilian soccer fan, if there is a bad time to be a Brazilian soccer fan. But, you've had a lot of pundits, a lot of journalists, a lot of outlets say this is the worst Brazilian team that they've seen in years and the worst Mexican team they've seen in years. Last night, Mexico beat by Venezuela. I don't know that anybody saw that coming, but Mexico, at least, since before the World Cup, they've not been great.
No.
They have talent. It's getting older, but they have talent. Brazil has no excuse.
Yeah, I think if you're anybody else, this tournament's wide open. You have two juggernauts that are not really showing up to par as they should. And even Argentina. Argentina is still Argentina. They're reigning champs, so it's their title to lose still, in my opinion. But they're not putting on – I was not trying to be graphic. There's children here. But, they're not really doing that final stomp in the ground, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I got you. I smell what you're stepping in.
I mean, they just skated by in this last match. And even looking at last week with Canada, what were my projections were 4-0. I thought they were going to really just smoke them. And Canada just looked like that they were holding time, and I think 2-0 for Canada, they looked at that as a positive to be able to hold them off as long as they did.
And to create the chances that they did. It wasn't like they got played off the pitch. Canada came in and they played a game.
It got dicey at times, for sure.
So, I mean, I agree. Like what you said, it's all up in the air.
It's wide open.
There's no clear cut. I mean, there's favorites, right? Like you said, Argentina's a favorite. Argentina's always going to be a favorite.
Uruguay, of course, still.
Uruguay, that's my – if I had to pick another team besides the U.S.,
of course,
I want them to go. I want to see them go. I love Marcelo Bielsa. But, I would love to see Uruguay.
You would choose the two teams that have won this 15 times. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
You would fall back on your laurels and know that they could win. Absolutely. I'm not blaming you.
So, tons of people in the crowd. We want some predictions from some of y'all. So, if anybody wants to come up here and give their 2 cents for a minute.
Oh, clamoring at the bit.
Hey, let's
clamoring
go.
at the bit, this guy.
I knew this guy was
Come
going
on down, predictions right here. Tell us your name. What's the score line?
I'm Ari. I'm a fan of the podcast.
There we go.
Enjoying a lot.
Oh, technical difficulties. That's okay.
He knows what he's doing.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There you go.
So, I'm a fan of the podcast. You can see my name pop up every once in a while. But as I mentioned before, 3-1 is what my prediction is. But
3-1.
But there's drama. We're going to get Panama scoring first.
Okay.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, no, it's the end. Then USA is going to score right before the half to equalize it. Okay. Right before the half.
Much like a USA thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from the 80th plus minute, we're going for the winner.
Let's go.
That's what it's – and it's going to be Flo because he hasn't shown up. At the very, very beginning, we were all super excited about Florin. We wanted him. He was the striker. He was the number 9. He's played a few games. He's shown up a little bit, but he hasn't lived up to the hype. This is going to be the game where we're going to be like, there he is. We finally have our man.
There we go. I like it.
Cheers. I love it. And honestly, I still like Florentine Pogba. I feel like, Balogun, I'm sorry. But I think if anything, his role, if he doesn't score, is still taking space. It's still taking attention away from our wingers. And I think if we could just get that one header in from him, give him that confidence, then I think it really will open up the rest of the midfield, the rest of the wing to open up and do possibly more than a 3-1.
Absolutely.
We got another guy coming up.
Let's go.
Tell us your name. What's the score line?
My name is Hilton Suelam. I'm a simple man. It'll be a 1-0 the United States.
Let's go.
And there's no reason for it. It's just going to be a 1-0. Have a nice day.
There we go. Got the receipts.
Simple man indeed.
Hey, simple man. I like it.
Do we have a timeline on when that goal is happening?
No,
Okay.
He said no. I don't put that pressure on yourself.
I made it too complicated for the simple man.
You got to stay simple.
I hope it's not like an 89th minute. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Just
God, dude, that
just
place
a
would be
nail
on
biter.
Pins and needles.
Oh, jeez. What's your score line? What are you thinking?
I'm gonna say 3-0. The U.S.
3-0.
Yeah.
Love that confidence.
3-0. I like it. I want to see. I think this is the one that gets them really going for this tournament. And what better place to show it off, right? This is the spot. So 3-0 U.S.
Anybody else want to come up, make a score line prediction? Feel free. I think the hype that we didn't really get to talk to earlier about, but just how dope is it, man? that like we're spoiled right now being Atlanta United fans, and then also America planting its flag right here in Metro Atlanta, saying this is going to be our home field as well. I would love to see more matches here from the
Absolutely.
U.S. side that's not CONCACAF or, a cup related, just in general, whether it's friendlies, anything that. I really hope that this environment and that crowd today welcomes them with arms wide open like Creed to come on down and play. You got AC for days. I was telling that to one of the other directors there. He was like, AC. I was like, yeah.
Air conditioning, baby.
It's not going to be 90 degrees, and we're going to have that on the players and the fans. Air conditioning in there, the concessions, the seating itself. There's not a bad spot to sit in to watch the pitch. I feel spoiled right now as a football fan that we have all these things going for our favor right now.
You know who doesn't have that? Orlando, Nashville, Charlotte. No, it really is a beautiful thing. Who all is Atlanta United fans in here? Let's go.
Hey.
Let's go.
Good to see the 5 stripes
Yeah.
out in the wild.
So anybody else is here that showed up for the U.S. game? Are y'all MLS fans, or what are your club teams? Or do you have club teams? Are you just straight patriotic?
Straight
Anybody?
patriotic. I love it.
What's that? I can't hear. Oh, hey, okay. I'm all for the patriotic. You want a flag? I got a small flag up here. I'll make you more patriotic. Somebody said something.
Give me one of these small flags, Tyler.
Being a Nashville fan.
Love it. Love it.
USA, baby.
I feel like the crowd, for the most part, is going to be your Charlotte, your Nashville, your regional areas. But, I mean, the airport, the stadium usage that they have, I mean, even though they're building their own thing, I don't know. I just felt like this was the match made in heaven, not only for U.S. soccer and Atlanta, but also potentially just growing. What I wanted to ask Neil was, does Atlanta United just have a pass to come on down, kick rocks with the boys as well? And, just are we going to see more than Miles Robinson get called up? You know what I mean?
Hey, Brooks Lennon.
He's knocking.
I mean, he's been knocking. That's the thing. And we talk to him at the training ground all the time. And it's like, I think at this point, he gets offended when he's not getting a call, because he's arguably the best right back in MLS. And I know, the other folks are going to say, well, you have the rest of the world to deal with. Yeah, but also the depth at that position is just not there. And it's not like we're calling up other guys from other leagues. Brooks Lennon, he had one call up back in, 2022, I think. And I mean, it was all right. He got a couple of run outs and it wasn't bad. But since then, his game has totally changed. And I think, Miles Robinsons of the world, the Walker Zimmermans of the world, Brooks Lennon is absolutely knocking on that door.
I think I love that. I mean, obviously, Atlanta United kid. Something I wish I could have asked Neil, but I held on to. I don't know, if we're going to get a PR answer, was just, what does the league, MLS specific, look like after Copa and after World Cup? Are we integrating a lot more guys? Because you're seeing the game and you're seeing that squad. It's going a lot more overseas now versus it used to be more of a mix of MLS talent there. And now you're looking at far fewer than
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you even see the recent rumors of Weston McKennie to Cincinnati. So, and then you have, going back to the U.S. earlier, Tim Ream to Charlotte is one of the rumors. The guys are making moves right now. Tim Ream is like fine wine. That guy has aged so well, but he's a vital part right now of the center back core for the U.S. So for him to be playing the way that he is at Fulham, to then be at least linked to an MLS team, that says a lot. Weston McKennie going to visit Cincinnati, that says a lot. And so, I mean, I think the doors are opening, and I think they're going to just blow wide open here come 2026.
Not to just make an obligatory Messi statement, because he has nothing to do with this match at all that's happening today. But I think what's
at least
really
once a
nice,
podcast, we'll say the name.
At least what's nice about bringing in a Messi talent is that I feel like you do attract the pools of a Weston McKennie, because who can compare to Messi? And if you have this GOAT coming down and playing in our league as well, I'm hoping that really opens the floodgates for other talent, even if it is American born, coming back, playing for home, training at the national team center, which would be like a 3-hour flight, depending on, where you're located.
Yep.
I'm hoping that the MLS can back up the Brinks truck a little bit, if you know what I mean, and really attract more talent, i.e. more American talent that they want to play for their home fans. Because you look at the NBA, I mean, you could play overseas, but there's nothing like playing for your home city.
Right.
I forget the kid's name, but
maybe Serbia would be the only other country.
Now they're really, really knocking for sure. But I mean, you look at, again, I forget the kid's name, but NBA draft happened last night. Number 17 spot for Chicago. And that kid is crying because he got drafted for his hometown. And I would love to see that with the youth coming up, that they're wanting to play and stay right here, so that not only do you have more MLS faces inside the men's national team, but also just that chemistry that naturally builds up.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Ariel, you have arrived again. You have another 2 cents to contribute. What you got?
I want to ask you guys about the future of MLS, right? So you guys are talking about how Weston McKennie came to visit Cincinnati. I think we can agree that McKennie is right now in his prime.
Yeah.
Right? He's definitely where he's playing at his best. If he's looking at MLS teams, right, and he's considering seriously to come to Cincinnati, does that mean, in your opinions, that the view of MLS being a retirement league or a smaller league, is that starting to change? Or will that change prior to the World Cup or at the World Cup?
I think the short answer is yes. I think it's been kind of working its way slowly for a few years. But yeah, I mean, when you have guys that are at least showing interest, that's way more than you had 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? And so for it to be somebody that's been around the block like Weston McKennie, that's a big deal. When you see somebody now, I know Tim Ream is the opposite of this argument.
He's a little bit older, yeah.
But it doesn't feel at this point like he's coming here to retire, because he just keeps getting better. So, and those are just 2 names. But ultimately, absolutely, I think when you have Cincinnati, when you have Columbus, Atlanta, Miami, both LAs, New York, one of them, the one that's actually in New York, deciding to go out and find talent, spend money, make things happen, they're setting the stage for, one, the rules to be changed, because, I mean, being honest, the rules have to change.
DPs. Get rid of the DPs.
Yeah.
Backing up the Brinks truck.
Yeah, exactly. Back up the Brinks truck, get rid of the DP, like just make it easier. And I think that's step one. And then I think once that roadblock is out of the way, then it automatically elevates MLS up to a much fairer level than what you're seeing right now.
To piggyback on that, to yes and, as we like to say in improv terms, what I think needs to happen, and I think this is really going to be looking at more so Don Garber and how ownership is being selected. Honestly, we showed you in 2018, Atlanta United did, we're bringing talent that's not here to come retire. But even David Beckham, bringing in Messi, I'm sorry, does that guy look like a retiree to you? What he's doing to the rest of these younger, kids
Miami's
in the MLS?
number one.
So
number one.
I think, honestly, it's a little twofold. I don't think that the MLS is looking to be stagnant like they were in the 90s, where let's just get somebody coming off their golden years to, rest here in the sunset and cash in. I think it's really going to come from an ownership, decision. What type of talent are we wanting to bring? Are we wanting to bring them in here just to put butts in the seat, or are we wanting to bring them in here to compete? And I think it's a little twofold with signings potentially. It's not for my club, but I would love to see Cincinnati get Weston McKennie, because that would be that twofold approach. You're going to get a talented name to come in here, but also a talent in himself to come in and play and represent not only the United States, but also the MLS as a greater scale. Because let's be frank here. If Messi can get on a run here, go for that, golden boot, and I'm not putting anything past him, he's Messi, that makes the MLS look good. Because if he's able to do that against the world's competition, it stops being that conversation of retirement league, because it's like, hold on, this was a golden boot winner, almost winner of, the World Cup.
Yep.
And then this next thing was to play for so it's like, again, twofold approach. It just depends on how ownership looks at things. We'll see with San Diego, right, with who their signings are going to be. But hopefully, right, it's Don Garber talking to the ownership, but also ownership recognizing that, like, it's more than just putting butts in the seat. It's also we have to compete. We can't, go winless in a season.
So there's different teams have different philosophies, right? So there's some teams that they're like, let me bring in the crazy players, the crazy big names, and that will bring butts into the seats. In Atlanta, it's a little bit different. We have brought the hype every single year, right?
Yeah.
Even the past few years, we haven't been doing so hot. We've still brought in the energy.
There's talent.
Exactly. So does that mean that in our specific situation in Atlanta, are the fans the ones that are advertising how crazy our city is? Like, look what kind of fan base you can have if you come to Atlanta. Or is it more the opposite way? We're like, look at the talent that we brought in. Come cheer us on.
I think Atlanta is definitely one of the models, right? Like, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Miami, but look at what the attendance looks like when Messi's not playing, when he's out. It's not the same. You look at teams like LA Galaxy over the years, and to a degree LAFC since they came in recently, but they'll get the splashy signing, the big one, and they'll do well, and they'll take advantage of it, putting butts in seats and all. But that's more of a symptom, really, than something permanent like you have here in Atlanta. Charlotte's doing a great job with it. Nashville's doing a great job.
Charlotte's doing incredible.
Yeah.
Charlotte's amazing.
Yeah, and so credit where it's due. These teams are, and you got to give credit to the actual clubs too, because some clubs just don't care. Their owners don't care. They don't care more than
Mostly
it's
financial.
It's an investment, if that, right? So, thank you. Great drinks, by the way. If y'all haven't got your drink, go get you one. These bartenders are off the chain. But yeah, I think ultimately, like, you've got the example here, right? And so if you can just come out in the next 5 years and, get your splashy signing if it makes sense, but ultimately the product on the field overall, I think, is what's going to bring in people. But then the club and the ownership has to do their part in just promoting everything. You don't have San Jose promoting the way that Atlanta United does or Miami, it's just not the
How
same.
many San Jose billboards do you see when you go over there? How many earthquake billboards? We see like at least 50 of them here in Atlanta.
No troll billboards, no fun with it. Like, you don't see that kind of stuff. But
And I can speak as an insider, somebody who's worked with the Atlanta United staff and their media team. They're incredible. All
Absolutely.
the things that they've done, whether it's flags out, fan campaigns, collaborations with other companies that are native to Atlanta, whether it be Home Depot.
Player meetups, those are awesome.
The player meetups, Delta. We've flown fans across the country to see other matches. We've even flown a fan to the World Cup.
Yep.
And again, I can't speak for all the other MLS clubs because I don't work for them. But for us, again, it was an organic partnership. Again, we find ourselves very lucky and fortunate that Delta, where's their hub? Right here. Same hub as USMNT Soccer, same hub as the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and, and a great club that, again, makes those marketing opportunities a little bit more organic, like I said, thus making it easier to attract that wandering eye of, like, do I follow
What's
MLS?
going on here?
What's going on? Because
What's happening?
you tell anybody, hey, we flew you to Qatar for the World Cup. Doesn't matter you're wanting to participate. So if other clubs can capitalize on that, and again, I think that's very much a leadership thing, like I was touching on earlier,
From the very top,
where it comes from the top down. Arthur Blank, very much a part of the community with all of his businesses, not just Home Depot, but you have the Falcons, you have Atlanta United. I've met Arthur Blank twice now at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival, and it's like, again, this man is making his face known within the community that he's a part of, that you don't see that from everybody.
And he's just making the city better in general.
You
right?
see that with Jim Irsay, right, with the Indianapolis Colts, but other people need to take that approach and really say, like, it's not just me owning a business, owning a team here so that I can joke around with my billionaire buddies. I'm wanting to build something that lasts. And you see that with Arthur Blank's legacy.
Which is relatively rare when you hear fans talk about other ownership groups. Either they're non-existent, like, oh yeah, they're just the owners, or you hear all this negativity. Yeah, this ownership group doesn't care about the fans. They don't care about the team. All they care about is the money. I think we're very, very blessed.
Or
to
in
have
some
someone like
cases,
Blank.
or in some cases, they're doing way too much, getting
Right.
way too involved in like the day to day.
Like
where it's like,
micromanaging almost.
Yeah, you don't need to be like, you don't know anything about soccer. Sorry, you don't. But like, so don't get it. Like, hire people to do that, and then take a step back and just watch what happens.
I mean,
So, yeah.
I could point you to another football team,
Yep.
actual American football with Jerry Jones.
Yep.
You know, he and it's his baby, and you could tell, but at the same time, the game might have moved past you. So hire the people to do the job you hired them to do, and let them, take the reins. I feel like Arthur Blank has done that.
Great balance. Great balance of that.
Yeah, to a great success here. Now, obviously, we're in a little bit of a slump comparative to earlier years, but I feel like, especially with rumors that are being had about other players potentially leaving, I think you see Arthur Blank allowing the people that he hired to do their job.
But he also gives them a little bit of pressure. He's like, I'm not going to just let you guys do whatever. Like, you guys got to.
And I feel like that also comes from the fans as well. I mean,
yeah, we're also pressuring them.
Not every club can come back and see 40,000 in the stand every given night that we can here at the Benz.
Right. We're blessed.
So it's a little twofold. You play for the badge, but also you're playing for those fans that are showing up even down, on a off season, if you will. We're still showing up. We're still rowdy and proud, and, Atlanta all day.
All day. All day.
Thanks, guys.
Since you're up here real quick,
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give you one more quick question.
I would love it.
Another prediction, going back to Copa America, because that's ultimately what we're here for today. You can say the U.S., but at least give me another one. Who's going to win it all?
Okay, so hold on a second. I wanted to give a comment on what you guys said earlier. You guys are talking about the dark horses and how USA might be a dark horse.
I would love that.
I have a counterpoint to that, right? So the favorites have been Uruguay, Brazil, and Colombia. Right?
And Argentina.
Yeah. Sorry. Of course, right? So out of those 4 teams, Colombia has shown up, right? Colombia has definitely been playing their game. Uruguay has been good, but on paper, I wouldn't say they've necessarily played better than the United States, right? I would say we're about neck and neck. Brazil completely has, what was the phrase you said? Stepped in something.
Yeah. We'll keep it. Yeah.
They've
keep
stepped
it PG.
in something. So they're not necessarily as the favorites in my eyes as the rest of them. So I wouldn't necessarily even say that USA is a dark horse on paper, right? When you're comparing it to the favorites, we're up there neck and neck. So yes, I do want USA to go all the way.
Love that.
But as much as other USA fans are going to hate this, Colombia's been playing very, very well.
Oh, yeah. Colombia's on fire.
Colombia has been doing – I would not be surprised if they take it.
I mean, they were on an unbeaten streak going into this tournament. I could see that continuing. I mean, yeah, they're hot right now, as Mugatu would say in Zoolander. It's so hot right now. Colombia's hot right now. So, I mean, the only reason why I have the U.S. as a dark horse going into this tournament, it looks wide open. Your juggernauts are not juggernauting. And,
exactly.
And that's why
they can fall.
And that's why I put us, again, this result tonight is going to show us everything. But that's why I have us as the dark horse. But yes, to your point, the next one, because again, dark horse is technically somebody you would not think coming and rising up. The next one up, whatever that would be title-wise, was always Colombia for me. But I'm looking at Argentina, Uruguay, and then Colombia. I think those 3 could easily take it for sure.
But there's something about the soccer tournaments in 2024.
I was just about to say that.
Even not just Copa America, but even in the Euros, right? There's something about these big teams
not showing up.
Right. They just seem to have this confidence like, oh, yeah, I could just walk in here and just wipe the floor with them. And then the other teams that are ranked lower, they have something to prove, right? They've got this drive, this energy to push. And that energy can overcome just the raw talent that most of these other teams have.
Patrick, I'm going to call you out real quick. Before we get going, I want one good USA chant from everybody in here.
Yes.
Let's go.
USA.
USA! 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 USA!
Love that.
I owe you a drink. I owe you a drink, my friend. Good
Love
stuff.
that. That's what this is about
Let's
right
go.
here. That pre-match. He's clearly amped and ready, taking that energy to the stadium. I feel like, again, you couldn't ask for a better setting, not only for obviously Atlanta and everything else that we've touched on, but also going into this window right now. The United States has everything going for them right now.
Hold on. Yeah, I want to add to that. I was going on that, right?
They're
So-
cooking with gas.
all of these teams, right? These the favorites, they've kind of just been sleeping a little bit, and all the lower ranked teams had this drive that I got something to prove. The U.S., in my opinion, are right in that sweet middle spot where they have the talent to legitimately compete with all of these big favorites, but the rest of the world also looks at them like, oh yeah, the United States, whatever. So they also have that drive that we have something to prove to the rest of the world. So I know I'm a U.S. fan, but I legit do think that we can see an Argentina-U.S. final. I can see it.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for any time that matchup happens. But I do agree with you. Like, overall, you look at, first of all, Copa America has at least been more fun than the Euros this year.
Absolutely.
And all respect to the Euros.
Absolutely.
7 own goals?
But, dude,
7
for
own
real,
goals in
France
the
has
Euros?
scored 2 goals, period. England can't figure out how to play soccer anymore. It's not coming home. So, like, it's just been a very defensive-oriented Euros. And I'm sorry, like,
That's
It's-
not so much fun to watch.
This is the home team.
yeah,
I mean, this is America
yeah.
for playing in Atlanta. This is the home team. So I think outside of that chip on their shoulder, if you will, for trying to show up for their hometown, I mean, yeah, this tournament is far more exciting than across the pond. I mean, I would be disappointed going and being an England fan right now and them just not rising to the level that they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I forget who said it. A few people have, but I didn't come up with this. But it's been described as the Euros being like a ballet, right? And Copa America has been essentially a knife fight,
Yeah.
which is true. I mean, it's
Facts.
been, you got, Argentinians grabbing people's cleats, trying to rip them off, getting drugged down the pitch. You've got people getting black eyes from a ball hitting them in the face, from
Getting
headbutt.
hockey checked.
It's been wild, and the Euros are just over there dancing along, doing the swan dance across the stadium. So I'll take this all day, but from the U.S. perspective, like, I think this is an opportunity now to go in again. This is your home, whether you want to consider it or not. I mean, of course, the U.S. is a big country, but your training center's here. This is the time to show everybody what it means for you to play here going into the World Cup.
Now, going into another tournament, we'll talk about real quick, because again, this is training ground here, not only for the men's, but also the women's.
Yep.
And the Olympics coming up. After kind of the hesitation, shifting of the board, if you will, with the women's side, not only with coaching, but also player personnel, how do you think we fare going into this Summer Olympics?
I think with the new coach, now this is no disrespect to Twyla Kilgore. Twyla Kilgore did a bang-up job as an interim in the meantime. She was great.
Absolutely.
Emma Hayes, we're going to do this story real quick. Alex Morgan didn't get picked. All right.
Why?
So it's crazy.
Hurts me.
Why?
I know it does. She's been steadfast, right, for years, for over a decade. To see her not be picked, it feels like the end of an era. However, that is a coach that knows what she's doing. And she also isn't attached to any of these players and can come in as a fresh set of eyes and say, I like what you got, but it's not what we need right now. And that's the tough choice that a coach has to make, a good coach has to make.
My thoughts on the matter, I am heartbroken that my birthday sister, we celebrate our birthday on Tuesday, July 2nd. I share that with Alex Morgan.
Happy birthday.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you.
The same year?
Not the same year.
That was close,
She's
though.
she's close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
She's a little older. But for me, seeing that end of an era, like you just said, it hurts, but also you can only take 18.
Yeah.
And I understand going
Which
with
is stupid.
yeah, but that's besides the point. Because I think she needs to be there no matter what, just as a leadership role.
Yep.
Not necessarily for goal scoring contributions, even though that'll be there. But as a leader, I wish she was there. but I understand with the 18 limited size that you need to go with the young. You got to go with those fresh legs, turning it over, those versatile positions. The only thing that they're missing, though, that Alex Morgan could have brought was that false nine role that she's really dominant at. That's what I think they'll be missing, but hopefully they'll make back up with their youth.
And she's admittedly fallen off in terms of just the numbers this year. I mean, I get it. You know, you have bad years. And she even said here at She Believes Cup back in April when we interviewed her at the training ground, she said, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to be judged on goals scored. That's just how it is as a striker, as a 10, 9, you know, winger, whatever. You're supposed to be a goal scorer. That's what you're going to be judged on. And if you look at the numbers, it just hasn't been there recently. But I do think there's something to be said to have that person that has won multiple World Cups, multiple Olympics, to just be there and tell you how to do it.
At least just in the locker room, at least.
Absolutely.
At least. In case something goes wrong, she'll know exactly what to tell the team.
Hire her on the staff.
Confidence.
Get her on the staff.
Hire her on the staff. Absolutely.
I don't see why that wasn't broached yet. Who knows? Maybe Neil knew. We don't know.
That would have been a good question for Neil when he was here. All right, we're getting close. So, Ariel, thank you. Thanks for coming up and hanging out with us, buddy. Co-host. Appreciate it, buddy. So, again, if you guys don't know, if you weren't here at the beginning, if you don't know who we are, Scarves and Spikes podcast. Again, we cover mostly Atlanta United, MLS as a whole, but also U.S. soccer as a whole. So we appreciate if you guys do the whole social media thing and go follow us and subscribe and all that good stuff. Twitter, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. Anybody else want to get up here and just give 2 cents on a prediction real quick? Mic is open. Mic is open.
I'm staying strong. 2-goal differential.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2-0, 3-1, that's kind of how I felt confident going in. I'm not going to be as bold as I was last time and call player goals and timelines.
That was a good shout, though.
You know, it's always fun. Would I like to see Pulisic score another one? Absolutely. I'd like to see McKinney get involved somehow, whether that's the 7th, 17th, every number that ends in a 7 for the minute. I'm feeling that.
Yeah, just be the guy. Be the guy. I agree. I'm going to stick with my 3-0. I think 3-0 is strong. I think this team is strong enough to do it. And I do think this team, especially with the way some of the quote-unquote favorites are playing right now, I think the U.S. has a chance to really take this very, very far.
If they do, how does Berhalter's position look like going into 26?
I mean, if they do well in this tournament, it's a lock. He's the guy.
What's the lock? What's the ceiling?
In terms of
job security.
Oh, I mean, unless something goes horribly wrong between them doing well in this tournament and the World Cup, he's there for the World Cup. Now, if they crash out of this tournament, or if they, again, have something weird go on between now and then, I think you got to move on sooner than later because you have to give whoever's the replacement time to come in and figure out what they're doing. 2026 is not a year that you want to be in flux. So this has to be, to me, this has to be the moment you make a decision. Either he's in or he's out at the end of this tournament. So, and that's you're going to be judged on how you do in this tournament as a whole, because this is the best competition you're going to face between now and the World Cup. So,
and I think just everything we've said earlier, the floodgates are wide open right now for those leaders to step up simply because of the fact that the juggernauts haven't. So That is the hope. That is the goal. And if you can't do it here, you're not going to be able to do it in 26.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. All right. We appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. Scarves and Spikes podcast. And let's get one more. USA. USA. USA.
USA. USA. USA Copa America finalists. That's right. You heard